Breaking news tonight. Tensions escalate overseas. Congress approves a multi-billion-dollar defense package. Shares in major defense contractors are soaring. It's a story you've heard before. A cycle of conflict, spending, and loss. But behind the headlines, there's another story. Not about nations or ideologies, but about profit. 5 American wars, 5 families. Each got rich from every single one, through government contracts, not speculation. Let's trace the pattern that's made the same dynasties billions, while millions died. We talk about the cost of war in lives and nations, but there's another cost, a vast transfer of wealth from the public to a select few. This pattern began with the founding of the nation and continues today, documented in congressional records and government contracts. Tonight we'll pull back the curtain, following the money from battlefield to boardroom. We'll examine 5 dynasties, some famous, some hidden, and how they position themselves to profit from America's wars. The story begins not with a bang, but with a quiet business deal over 2 centuries ago. It all starts with gunpowder. In 1802, Eleuthère Irénée Dupont founded a mill in Delaware, supplying the U.S. military with black powder. Thanks to a connection with President Jefferson, Dupont secured his first major government contract. This was the start of a dynasty built on war. As America grew, so did its conflicts, and the DuPonts were always there, supplying nearly half the Union's gunpowder during the Civil War. Their strategy was simple. Government contracts were reliable, and a nation at war always needed what they sold. They cultivated deep ties in Washington, ensuring their name topped the list when arms were needed. Profits from one war funded expansion for the next. By World War I, DuPont was a global giant, producing 40% of Allied explosives. Their fortune swelled, but so did scrutiny. Critics called them merchants of death. Congressional hearings revealed how munitions interests and national interests became dangerously intertwined. The DuPonts diversified into chemicals and plastics, but their foundation was war. They turned wartime profits into consumer goods, nylon, Teflon, laundering their wealth into everyday life. Their influence was political too. Funding campaigns, lobbying, and placing allies in government. This kept the contract pipeline open, a self-perpetuating cycle of war, profit, and influence. When WW2 came, DuPont was tapped to build the Hanford site, producing plutonium for the atomic bomb. They took the contract for $1, a PR move. The real prize was technical knowledge and government-funded infrastructure. This cemented their place atop the military-industrial complex. The DuPont story is the blueprint: secure a monopoly, build political ties, and use war profits to prepare for the next conflict. War wasn't just politics, it was the most lucrative business in history. Other families learned and perfected this model. The DuPonts showed that war could be engineered for profit, their legacy, a business model that endures, and the next dynasty would take it global. If gunpowder fueled the 19th century, oil powered the 20th, and no name is bigger than Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil controlled over 90% of U.S. refining, making oil the world's most strategic commodity. As navies switched to oil and engines replaced horses, Rockefeller's grip tightened. When WWI broke out, Allied victory floated on oil, much of it from Standard Oil's descendants, Exxon, Mobil, Chevron. The Rockefellers profited massively, holding vast shares in these companies, but their business was global and profit trumped patriotism. Through partnerships like IG Farben, Rockefeller companies aided both Allies and Axis, supplying synthetic fuel to Nazi Germany. Their bank, Chase, did business with the Nazis into the late 1930s. For the Rockefellers, war was win-win, profit from both sides, then profit again from rebuilding. After WW2, the Cold War made oil demand permanent. U.S. military might ran on Rockefeller oil. They shaped foreign policy to protect their assets, like the CIA-backed coup in Iran, which benefited Western oil companies. Their influence ran deep in Washington, ensuring U.S. interests aligned with their own. U.S. intervention secured oil for American companies, who then sold it back to the military, a self-sustaining profit loop. Middle East wars, from the Gulf to Iraq, were about securing oil, the commodity the Rockefellers once monopolized. Their philanthropy, foundations, think tanks, shaped policy and public opinion, always protecting their interests. The Rockefeller model evolved the DuPont blueprint: control a global resource, play both sides, and use influence to shape the world. They turned oil into a perpetual motion machine of war and profit. Their legacy: global reach, political power, and endless profit from conflict. The next dynasty would master the money behind it all. The Morgans. And the pattern deepened. War became a financial product. The DuPonts made the bullets, the Rockefellers supplied the fuel, but the Morgans provided the money. war is expensive, and it's almost always fought on credit. JP Morgan's empire didn't just profit from war, they made it possible. Their business was debt-financing governments, underwriting industrial giants. When nations needed armies but lacked cash, they turned to Morgan. During WWI, the House of Morgan became the exclusive financier and purchasing agent for Britain and France. They arranged over $3 billion in loans, tens of trillions today. Their financial stake made American neutrality impossible. If the Allies lost, Morgan would collapse, dragging the US economy with it. This created pressure for the US to join the war, protecting Morgan's interests. When America entered the war, Morgan organized Liberty bond drives, profiting at every stage, arranging loans, earning interest, and raising funds. Public backlash followed. The Nye Committee exposed how bankers' profits drove war. The lesson, take the profit out of war, was never learned. The Morgan legacy continued. After banking reforms, their institutions, JP Morgan & Commerce or Morgan Stanley, remained at the center of global finance. Today wars are funded by treasury bonds, sold by banks like JP Morgan Chase, earning fees and commissions. These banks also finance defense contractors knowing the government is a guaranteed customer. The Morgan pattern, control the money, control the war. No matter who wins, the bank collects its fee. War became the ultimate financial product. The next evolution, the rise of the defense contractor. Enter Lockheed Martin. The machinery of profit grows more complex, and the stakes, higher. The business of war enters the jet age, and the profits soar. With money and fuel in place, 20th century wars moved to the skies, ushering in the age of the defense contractor. Lockheed Martin, born from mergers of aviation pioneers, became the industry's giant. The pattern began in WWI, as the US poured money into aircraft companies, often through cost-plus contracts, guaranteeing profit on every dollar spent. This system rewarded inefficiency. The more a project cost, the more profit the company made. WTI supercharged this model. Lockheed and Martin Marietta became industrial giants, building iconic planes and acquiring government-built factories for pennies after the war. After WTI, peace threatened profits. The Cold War solved that, creating a permanent arms race and endless demand for new, expensive weapons. The revolving door became key. Pentagon officials retired to lucrative jobs at defense firms, bringing influence and insider knowledge. The 1995 merger of Lockheed and Martin Marietta created the world's largest defense contractor. Lockheed Martin mastered the modern contract, producing the F-22 and the F-35, the most expensive weapon system in history. The F-35's delays and overruns only meant more profit. Every problem generated more billable hours. Lockheed's influence is everywhere. Millions spent on lobbying and manufacturing spread across states to ensure political support. The result, a permanent war economy, where weapon systems are too big to cancel. The Lockheed pattern. Profit from preparation, not just war. The business never ends. The next step, privatizing the very logistics of war. Enter Halliburton. The machinery of profit expands again. Now, every phase of conflict is for sale. The lines between government and contractor blur, and the profits once again soar. The war business is now total, and Halliburton perfects it. Halliburton took war profiteering to its logical conclusion, selling not just weapons but every service an army needs. Founded as an oilfield services company, Halliburton pivoted through its acquisition of Brown & Root, a construction giant. They saw the military as a moving city, needing food, bases, laundry, and mail. Their first big war contract came in Vietnam, building the infrastructure for US forces, paid under cost-plus contracts notorious for waste. The lesson: inefficiency meant higher profits. In the 1990s, under Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney, the Pentagon began outsourcing logistics to private contractors. Halliburton's KBR won the first massive log cap contract, supporting U.S. deployments worldwide. No-bid contracts became the norm, justified by urgency. After 9/11, Cheney, now vice president, saw Halliburton awarded billions in Iraq and Afghanistan. KBR built bases, ran dining halls, delivered fuel, and rebuilt oil infrastructure, becoming the war's backstage operator. Profits soared, but so did accusations of fraud and overcharging. Audits revealed systematic waste, $45 for a case of soda, $100 for laundry, and dangerous shortcuts. But under cost-plus contracts, none of it hurt the bottom line. Halliburton's model combined political influence, resource control, and the cost-plus system. They monetized every phase: deployment, combat, occupation, and reconstruction. The most lucrative business wasn't just destruction, but occupation and rebuilding. War became a permanent, privatized enterprise. The lines between government and contractor blurred, and the profits once again were staggering. The pattern was now complete. 5 families. 5 patterns of profit. From gunpowder to privatized logistics, the story is consistent. Secure a monopoly, build political ties, and profit from war. Waste and inefficiency aren't bugs, they're features of the system. This isn't a partisan issue, it's structural, built into how America goes to war. The billions earned weren't created from nothing. They were transferred from taxpayers, paid for by debt and by lives lost. Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex wasn't about the future. It was already reality. So next time you hear the drums of war, ask, who benefits? Follow the money. As long as this pattern remains, there's always an incentive for the next war. I'm Anderson Cooper. Thanks for watching.